What's up, everyone? We're on episode 2 of the Jimmy Meat World podcast, and on today's episode, I'm talking to Cameron Randall. Cameron is a CrossFit competitor, coach, personal trainer. He also loves music, coffee, dogs, and many more things. I met Cam at Cable CrossFit, where I started taking CrossFit about 4 months ago. I love Cam because he cares a ton about people. He walks a great line of pushing you to make sure that you're growing, but also not pushing you so hard that you want to give up every week. He's a big reason why I really enjoy doing CrossFit, and he's a huge reason why I get a little bit better every week, and I think a lot of people could say that. Cam, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, buddy.
Is this your first time being on a podcast?
This is my first time.
Okay, how does it feel?
It feels good.
Yeah?
It's almost because you've listened to so many podcasts before.
Yeah.
Like everyone listens to podcasts now, so it's almost like this is somewhere like I've been before.
Yeah.
Even though I've never been in a podcast.
It's a little surreal, right? And you can feel self-conscious about, okay, am I saying this? I say a lot of likes, and kind of.
Everyone does.
Yeah, everyone does. So you just kind of, I don't know, get more comfortable with it over time. I'm still definitely learning it. So
I'm really excited.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you said I push you to like almost I don't make you quit. That it's actually really offensive. I'm trying to make you quit every week.
Oh my God.
Every single time.
Really? That's the goal? No, I think you write a good line of that, and that's hard to do, because I think as a CrossFit coach, and you're a competitor too, so you have a threshold of wanting to push yourself that's much higher than when you coach the average person who comes in after work and just wants to, different people have different goals, but a lot of people don't want to push themselves to the extent that you want them to. What is that like?
Yeah, so that is something that I've actually had to learn the hard way. Like, because when I started CrossFit, I was like just graduating high school, and I got into it because I wanted to compete. Like that's how I found CrossFit, was the CrossFit Games and like seeing stuff online, and I really wanted to get into it. And so I started doing CrossFit, and then after like 5 months, I was like, I don't want to pay for a membership, so I'll just work here and coach a few classes and get a key to a gym. And then of course that meant I have to start training people too. And then because I was so into it and so macho about it, it's like that was one of the hard things for me to learn. Was in the beginning I had to when someone wasn't really pushing themselves, I was like, what's wrong with you? I didn't relate to them. It kind of sounds douchey, but for me, because I took it so seriously, and I don't know, it was when someone I didn't see it as a skill. I thought it was either you do or you don't, or I don't know. It was hard for me to relate to them, and I was it wasn't the best trainer at all. It took me, I was like, oh no, over time I learned this is a skill of being able, some people are just doing it either emotionally, just for health or whatever. And, some people are more serious about it or whatever. But yeah, that was one of the hard things for me to realize. I wasn't the best trainer for sure at first. And once I started, when it comes to training and working out and all that type of stuff, you have to be able to be uncomfortable together, which is why I kind of fell in love with it too. And why I've learned so much from it was because but that's also a skill that you have to learn. Once I started thinking of it that way, I'm like, no, they're not just being a baby, or they don't want to push themselves or whatever. Whenever I could tell someone didn't want to do that in class, it's no, they're not conscious. It's a skill that they have to learn. So if someone doesn't have that, once I kind of made that switch, or I thought of it that way, it was all of a sudden it became way more relatable to me, to where now as a trainer, I'm also not only just teaching you how to exercise and how to do that stuff, but I'm teaching you how to be okay with being uncomfortable. Once I've thought of it as a skill, just it's a skill to learn how to do a good squat or do anything like that, I was oh, that makes more sense. And I actually became a way better trainer because of it. But yeah, that's something it's fun. That's why I want to do, eventually I want to not leave CrossFit, but eventually work as a trainer for either a sports organization or a university or something, because I want to train with athletes full time, because it is a little bit of a different feel when you go from training the general public, just teaching them and wanting to be healthy and just maintain or whatever, just be generally healthy people, versus someone who's trying to train for either a sport or something. Yeah. It's a different level of focus or intensity or whatever, and so that's huge for me. That's why I want to do that, because that's what I relate to a lot. But the byproduct of becoming a trainer was something that I wasn't planning on doing. Like I said, I wanted to do it just for a membership, was because like a really cool byproduct was I ended up helping a lot more people. Now that I think, I'm like, whoa, that's cool. That's what I do for a living, is like I actually help people. And, the goal is to, get people off diabetes medications or come back from injuries and rehab stuff, or just be healthier people. Like that wasn't part of the plan at all. Like I said, I wanted to become a trainer just because I wanted to do CrossFit and look jacked and do muscle ups and learn how to walk on my hands and stuff. But now it's like, oh, I have actually a meaningful job because of it, which is really cool.
Yeah, I know. I think when people maybe think of CrossFit, they think of super intense gyms where everyone's is on a team or whatever, or they're training to be at the games and at that top level. But I think that was the biggest surprise to me, was I kind of heard a little bit about that, but I was surprised how accessible it was, and like how you can be much older, you can be younger, you can be anywhere in between, you can be really fit coming into it, not super fit. Either way, it's going to be challenging to you, and you can just modify it so that it's something that you can do. And I think most people don't. Like I always try and get my dad to go, but he thinks it's this impossible thing and he could never do it. And some people just won't do it and aren't open to it.
I'm the only one in my family that does it. No one else comes in it. And I've almost ruined it for my family. I think I have ruined it because
you're so into it.
Because I live with them and they see me every day, and like especially the times that I train at home, like I'm not doing air squats and just burpees and like stretching a bunch like casually and just doing my little workouts. Like I'm trying to lift a lot of weight. I'm trying to like kill myself in these workouts to train as hard as I possibly can. And I'm walking on my hands on my sidewalk in front of my house.
Right.
And they're like, we'll pass, dude. Thanks.
They see the most intense
stuff. So that part has ruined it a little bit for like the people around. Like it's weird. It's like this. That's one of the most talked about topics, like when it comes to CrossFit and people about it. Like there's this competing idea between like CrossFit as a sport and then CrossFit as like a methodology or just a means of being healthy. It's so weird. I don't know why. There's some people like you'll find in the CrossFit community, like either media sources or whatever, or just representatives from CrossFit. I know like they think it's almost like these two opposing ideas when really they kind of go hand in hand. Like they really should, you can't deny that people like sports.
Right.
Like there's a reason why there's tons of people that show up and watch, that's like the NFL or the MLB or any other huge sport. It's like super popular. It's just people like sports. So it's almost like it looks like they're down. Like people are like, oh, it's not about the, it's the fittest in the world, but it's about the everyday person. Like, of course it is. But it's like, why you'd be surprised the amount of people that like everyday people, they get inspired by like top level athletes, even if they don't ever plan on doing that, they still like following them and like what they're doing and see them as an inspiration. Like every time I come to like cable or just I go into any gym that I've worked at in the past, like I love talking about the CrossFit Games with the regular members. Right. They're just like, hey, did you see so-and-so at the games this year or this or that, or who do you think is going to win? It's just like talking about any sport. So it's like they go hand in hand, but it's really weird how like some people, they like, not they bash it, but like they see it as these two separate worlds. But yeah, if you're coming into CrossFit, like you need, I think if you're on the fence about it, I always just tell you like, just show up and go take a class. Anywhere you're at, go take a class in person. Like you can watch a bunch of videos online. You can get a bunch of these random people's opinions. Am I allowed to curse on this?
Yeah,
by the way?
Of course.
There's a bunch of fucking random people's opinions.
Sure.
But you won't really know until you show up and take a class. And there's good classes and there's bad classes. There's good gyms and there's bad gyms, just like any other, sport or any other activity. There's good teachers, bad teachers, whatever. So go take one and you'll learn like, oh wow, I am working out right next to a college level athlete. I'm working out next to a grandma who hasn't worked out in 30 or 40 years. You know what I mean? And then I'm also working out with a kid who's in grade school. Like they're all in the same place doing the same thing. Like we all obviously tailor it to wherever you're at in your life with your fitness. But yeah, that's what I always tell people. Just like don't have this judgment about it. Just like go take a class. Go try it out and you'll see like, oh wow, it's just a just like the same way you show up to a Zumba class or you show up to a spin class. It's like, yeah, there's barbells and there's weights and there's people doing burpees and running around a parking lot and shit. And like that part can be intimidating, sure, but the movements can look intimidating. But you're like, it's a class just like anything else. Like if you can show up and take an art class, you can take a CrossFit class.
Totally.
It's really that simple.
I agree. I think the part I love about CrossFit and is the way maybe it's different than sports is with sports like baseball, soccer, football, you kind of play as a kid and you play through high school, maybe college, and then there's the professional leagues, and then it kind of stops for everyone else, right? Like you're either a pro or you're not. Like you can play casually, but I think, and there's a lot of rec leagues and things like that. But with CrossFit, it's they do have that top of the the apex of the sports with the games and everything, but it has such a positive effect for everyone else who's not competing at that level. You just get so much out of it, and I love it. For me, I think what I love the most about CrossFit is, of course, like I think everyone should be exercising, and I think being pushed and having that group accountability is big for me. Like you work out a lot on your own, but I don't know, people like me, I couldn't get myself to that threshold of work and heart rate unless I had other people, doing that with me and you there kind of pushing me.
Exactly.
And so I think that's one thing is the accountability, but it also, and obviously the health benefits, I sleep better, I have more energy, I'm stronger. But I think it's one of those things where it's I put one in and get two out because it's kind of a killing two birds with one stone. Like part of it is that working out and that accountability, but the other part is it's social. Yeah. It kind of scratches that itch as well because I get to see these people who became very important in my life. But the interaction with most people, I've hung out with you outside the gym, but with most people, it's just that 45 minutes. I'll have a short interaction with them, but it's an important part of my life. Like I realized I was much lonelier and sadder when I didn't have that. But having those people who are super supportive and cool and kind of care about your life, both in the gym and outside, it's a super important part of my routine that I can't imagine being without.
Yeah, it's like you go through, school your whole life, high school and college and everything, and you have a social life. You have the same place you wake up and you go to every single day that you are going to see the same people, and then those people become your friends and stuff like that. Like, why wouldn't it be the same with CrossFit? Honestly, I think that's why it's super successful is like really CrossFit isn't anything new. I mean, besides kind of just this methodology of just blending all these things together, like that part was new when it was first popularized, right? Not just lifting weights separate from running, like and doing gymnastics and stuff, and now combining like all that stuff was new. But really, I mean, a lot of the movements we do have been around for 100 years. But the reason why I think CrossFit exploded and grew so much, and why people are able to open a gym, in a day and actually run it and it become a full-time business, because like people show up and they like that social factor. It's a class. It's like, half the people that I train, like we have regulars of part of each hour. It's like basically each class is like a group of friends that come in that have all agreed to come work out at this time, and they all show up there at the same time every day. And like that's honestly why I think it's worked so much and why it's been so popular. It's just working out with your friends. But yeah.
I wanted to ask you about, because for me, my goals with CrossFit is just to be healthy. Just healthy over time, maybe get stronger, look good, feel good, all of that. But you want to take it to another level. You want to get to kind of amongst the best in the world at CrossFit, and you train and you eat and you sleep kind of almost every hour of the day revolves around it. So
eat, sleep, shit,
everything, all the things.
Yeah.
What's the motivation to go to that next level?
So for me, when I found CrossFit when I was graduating high school. And I really didn't have anything else going on. Like growing up, it was sports, team sports. Like I played baseball, volleyball, soccer, all that stuff. And I I kind of stopped playing sports about the middle of high school. And then I was also doing like some like theater and improv comedy. And that like kind of, like I had other little niche I kind of fell into for a little bit for a couple of years. And like performing and doing comedy and stuff, that was really fun. But after that, like I didn't really have much going on, and I kind of missed sports a little bit. I needed something physical. I needed something to do like with my body, whatever. And that like part of comedy didn't quite scratch that itch. There was still a big part of me that wanted to be an athlete really bad, and I just didn't have much going on. I just wanted to be fit. And so I started working out, and then I found CrossFit. And so I saw that and I started doing it. And, I signed up for a gym. And by the time I had signed up for a gym, I was already watching like all the YouTube videos about the CrossFit games. And I was like, and then I found out like, oh, you can make it there as long as you just qualify. Like it's open-ended to literally anyone. I think it's the largest open sporting event to literally anyone. Like if you feel like you are that good of an athlete, or you feel like you could like, oh, the guys at the CrossFit games aren't that fit, I bet there's real athletes or whatever that would sign up, they would beat them. It's like, that's great. It costs $20, dude. Fucking $20 and you can do it.
Put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. Like it's super cool. But that part, so I started doing that and I was like, for whatever reason, I was like, you know what, this is going to be my thing. And I was almost at a point in my life too, because I wasn't going to a 4-year university either. Like I wanted something just to like go all in on. And I felt like I'd always done that stuff with sports too. Like there was a time where I wanted to be a professional baseball player. Like everyone has little kid dreams, right? Like I want to be a firefighter, this or that. I had the dream of being a professional athlete, whether it was baseball, whether it was volleyball, soccer. I wanted to be a professional skateboarder at one time. I even did skateboarding competitions when I was younger, and there was a brief period of time where I like was all in on that. And then I wanted to do comedy, and then I just felt like I had quit. Quits. I guess I'll just say it. Like I felt like I had quit a lot of these different things. And it was almost like I decided to do this, being like, this is going to be your one thing that you don't quit. You're going to go until like someone either tells you, like life, the world tells you like, hey, this isn't going to work out for you. Like but I'm not going to do it on I'm not going to quit because of like just like emotions or something that I wanted something that I would see through. And I felt like this was something that I really liked. I only played team sports growing up. I have always wanted to do an individual sport. I thought about doing tennis or even boxing or something like that. I never really did any individual sports, and that was a big part of why I left team sports. Was I felt like I was tired of the politics of having a team and bad teammates and bad coaches and stuff. And so I was like, this is an individual sport. It's 100% on me. It's like there's nothing. All I have to do is show up and work really hard, and then eventually stuff like it has to work as long as I don't quit, as long as I keep doing all that stuff. And I also was aware that I was like, this is also like I'm gonna have a hard time with this. I didn't start CrossFit with like this super big background. Like I could learn skills easily, but it was tough for me. And so I don't know why, I just kind of made this weird contract with myself. It's kind of the way I think about it. If I had to think about it like that, like I made a weird unspoken, this weird fake contract with myself that I was like, I'm going to do this. And for a specific goal for me, it was like when I started CrossFit, it was regionals that I wanted to qualify for. Now it's turned into like semifinals, what they call it. But I said, I'm going to reach to a certain level with CrossFit. And I'm like, basically get to a point where you're like semi-professional, with CrossFit. Like I'm going to do that to prove to myself that I can do something, and I'm not going to quit. And I don't have anyone to blame for it either. Like it's either you can't have anyone to blame. It's either you train or you don't. Like it's completely open. Like I said, you pay $20 to sign up. If you're not that good, you're not that good. You don't move on. And so I kind of made this weird contract with myself that I was like, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do now. And it's like, it's weird. I blink and it's like, I've been doing it now for like training seriously for like 4 or 5 years now. And
you're 25 now.
Yeah, I'm 25.
So around when you were 20.
Around when I was 20. And as I got more into it, after a couple years into seriously training, I also became very aware of like kind of what I was getting myself into, being like, hey, you're not that good. You're not that fit. I just basically wasn't really set back, but I wasn't starting in a deficit. I wasn't really overweight. Like I was decently athletic, but I think my best back squat was 135 pounds. It's a 45-pound plate on each side. Yeah. I was skinny as a rail. My mile time, I could run a mile in I think 8 to 9 minutes. And I could do 20 push-ups and about 5 pull-ups. That was it. But like that's where I started. And so once I became aware of that, like you get really cocky and confident in yourself. Like I totally was like that the first 2 years.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be great at it. Cause like, I felt like I was there mentally, but like I had no self-awareness of how far behind I was or how much work or how fit you really had to be. Like it's insane. And so I had those like times where I thought I was better than I was. And then I would sign up for a competition or the CrossFit Games Open would come around and I'd get my shit pushed in and I would be like, wow, I am not that good.
Humbled.
Oh yeah. It's humbled so many times. And so I, after that, you know, couple years, I started taking things more seriously. I mean, when I first started, I wasn't watching what I was eating. I was just trying to work out all day, every day and kind of doing all my workouts half-assed. And then it became more and more serious over time to where now it's everything I do. And like, I'm much more mature about all that stuff. But I mean, I'm kind of going on a rant here, but
No.
getting back to like what you were saying originally, why I started doing it, I don't, honestly, it sounds like a little bit of an ego trip. Like you're just like, I want to do this because I don't want to quit or I want to prove something. But I feel like it's been a good ego trip in a way. Like I have been able to prove myself. Like even though still sometimes I have these days where I feel like I'm not progressing or whatever. Like I can't help but think like I've come a long way. I still have much farther to go where I want to be. But yeah, it's been a good ego trip because I've now taken it into other areas of my life where I'm like, hey, I've developed this mentality of not quitting or just being tougher or just, you know, all the stuff you learn from just doing hard physical things that like I can take into doing other stuff. I feel like, so it's been a good ego trip, but that's kind of what I wanted. I felt like, I don't know, I just wanted to find something that I was like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to see it through. And I'm going to ride it till the wheels fall off. Like just, and it's tough, but I've kind of kept that contract with myself still for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years.
I love that. And not a rant at all. It's long form. This is built for ranting, you know, don't think about being concise or censoring yourself.
That's what I think I really like about being on a podcast. Cause like you have these conversations with yourself all the time, but it feels weird, but you don't ever imagine like going on these rants, even though I feel like I've had this rant in my head a million times, which is cool.
And I think the reason why podcasts are awesome is a lot of people, I think about the world or think about their lives similarly, but something's cathartic about hearing someone else say it, right? Like I can relate a lot to you feeling like you were quitting on a bunch of things. I've wanted to do music and playing piano and YouTubing and investing and all these things that I've wanted to do for short periods of time, but haven't stuck to it, you know, like got really excited about it and then kind of burned out and didn't stick to it. And then you just feel kind of rudderless, right? Because you kind of have your core life, but then you don't really have something that you're passionate about doing. And it's a little bit intimidating because there's so many shiny objects that are around of things that you could be doing. But at the end of the day, just picking one and sticking with it, regardless of how good it is, and just learning that skill of I made this commitment to myself, I'm going to see it through over a long period of time, years. I think it gives you some kind of confidence boost and you believe in yourself of, okay, now I've done this thing for a couple of years. I got pretty good at it. Now I can go do other things is way better than just it almost doesn't matter what that thing is. I mean, it does. And it does matter to pick something or else you'll give up on it. But and you pick something that I think has a really net positive effect. Like your health is much better. You get to train other people, motivate other people. There's a lot of positive externalities and effects that come from it. But I relate to that a lot because I think I beat myself up all the time for things I'm not consistent at, but trying to make time to do to be consistent at something that you're good at, is good for you, hopefully has some positive impact on other people. It's valuable, and I think that would be the biggest tip I'd give to a younger version of myself is don't chase all the things and waste your life on YouTube wondering about all the things you could be doing or should be doing, but pick something that you like and go deep on it and then kind of build from there. I think it was probably when I started doing CrossFit, it also created this obsession with like being obsessed. Like you become like it was this thing, like it's a skill. I always tell people too, like how I mentioned earlier about training other people when they don't feel like they have this skill yet.
it was something that I got really into. I got really into learning how people worked really hard, and how like I was like, how can people be obsessed over like little things, like especially with athletes or whatever. And so I wanted to be able to do that. When I looked at myself, I was like, I don't know, it's just like a high school kid. Like I didn't really know what it meant to really work hard, because I was really blessed, and I had, I had a good upbringing for the most part. I was born to a middle class family, and like I wasn't necessarily given everything, but I just didn't really work for much. I didn't like have a lot of big struggles or whatever. And so doing this whole CrossFit thing has been like my biggest struggle so far in my life. I mean, it's as silly as it sounds. I mean, some people have really, at least I'm aware that I can tell, like, hey, I've had compared to most, I've had a pretty solid upbringing so far, and I'm very blessed to have a lot of gifts to be born and to live where I'm at and all this stuff. But yeah, I came like, once I realized like, whoa, this is what working hard really was, once I started studying athletes and stuff like that. And that's become like one of my favorite things. Like I like the idea of learning how to be obsessed with something and working really hard. And I don't like how people talk about it as like this thing that you're born with. Like you hear these stories about these professional athletes and almost how like, they're like, oh, you've just always been this way. And like, yeah, I'm sure that's true to some extent. But like, I don't know. I feel like anyone can be like that. Like I wasn't like people that meet me now, like, oh, wow, you do this, you train this many hours a day, you do all this stuff. Like, you must be super focused. You're like, I wasn't ever like that. Like my entire life, like for a good chunk of my life, I was just kind of this little shit that like liked to play sports sometimes and kind of didn't give a fuck. Like I was a bad student. I don't know. But yeah, this thing like really taught me how to narrow my focus, and it was like, oh no, this is what working hard is really about. And that's been really cool to me, learning that. Like that's one of my favorite things to geek out on is like professional athletes, and like, like I don't know, I like people that like or that have that type of personality, and usually those people are the best in the world at what they do. Like I don't care, like I am totally a bandwagoner. Like I love.
Who are some athletes you really admire?
Like, dude, I was watching the Bucks game right like today. Tom Brady's become one of my favorite athletes only within the past like 5 years, because growing up I watched football religiously with my family, and everyone knew Tom Brady was the guy that just won all the time or whatever. But then once all these little documentaries came out about him, once I became more into like learning how athletes were mentally because of, my training through CrossFit, and I wanted to learn how to be better. I started looking towards stories of other professional athletes. Like I learned about him, and like you watch some of these documentaries and you're like, yeah, I get how people don't like that he wins all the time, but like if you listen to his like the way he prepares and just how hard he works, like how do you not like that shit?
Yeah,
like I just like
goat shit.
Maybe it's just like the most like macho. Maybe I just have the most macho man boner.
No,
but like
it's Brady.
His, like the way he does, like, or like if you watch the Last Dance documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the 90s, like if you don't watch that and get like fired up a little bit, like, dude, I don't know, I love that shit. And so like learning, or like my favorite, I mean, I'm basically naming the 3 most famous athletes of all time, but my favorite athlete of all time is Muhammad Ali. And I don't box at all. I've never taken a boxing class. I have fucking probably slapped a heavy bag once in my life. I don't know shit about boxing, but I love Muhammad Ali just because of the story of his life, and I've watched and read so much about him. And I only learned about him actually shortly after he passed away. Like so back in 2016, I think it was. Don't quote me on that. I'm going to be really upset.
Yeah, but it was recent. It
wasn't that long ago. A few years ago. And then I just, like, obviously he became, once that happened, it shocked the world and it was a big deal. And so when I learned more about him, I was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize this. And just the way he, like carried himself and being the most like, he, back in his day, in his prime, he was considered like to be super cocky and arrogant and loudmouth and all this stuff, and people didn't like him at first, but then he started winning and he backed up. He just believed in himself like no one has ever believed in himself.
He talked
before.
A lot of shit.
He did.
Yeah.
He talked about him being the greatest all the time, and it was the coolest shit. And so I try to be humble in that sense, but like if you're competing in a sport, you kind of have to have that mentality. You kind of have to have like a chip on your shoulder, or to like just to kind of, at least for the moment inside your head, you kind of have to have a little bit of that, like, you know, like cockiness or whatever you want to call it, or just extreme confidence. But yeah, like that, I love that shit.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. I love hearing stories about that, or just like reading books about like comeback sports and like comeback stories in sports and stuff like that. I love it. Yeah. That's my favorite.
No, I remember I was a big Seahawks fan a couple of years ago. I mean, I wouldn't say a big Seahawks fan. I randomly picked the Seahawks to support. And I mean, they were a cool team at the time, right? Legion of Boom, Richard Sherman, and Earl and everyone, right? And everyone, yeah, you probably hate him.
I hate Richard. I'm just kidding. I don't hate Richard Sherman.
No, but it was.
But everyone hated him at that time when he was in Seattle because all this shit he would talk. But
the Niners and stuff. But no, one funny thing that happened with Brady was, I think Sherman was talking shit to him before the game during the warm up, and then Brady just responded, "Who are you?"
Yeah,
and it was like he's the defensive player of the year, or whatever, right?
Yeah,
he's like the best corner in the league, and I remember how bothered Sherman was by that, and just like that's Tom Brady's ultimate shit talking, I'm the GOAT, like kind of mentality, and I can relate to that because when I played soccer, I wasn't ever great at soccer. I was okay, but I was never good enough to go play college and professional, whatever, but. I played center back defensive, and it's a little bit of a macho position, but I would always just shit talk the center forward, and so, like with really great players, it wouldn't work. Like, but with the vast majority of people, they would just kind of crumble under saying something really, or like just the first header, or just saying something kind of shitty to them, and letting them know that like you're not getting shit on me.
Yeah,
it just makes people just crumble, and I think I noticed that, and I think. And there's something fun about it. It's kind of a macho. It is a macho thing.
Yeah, like I think there's I don't know. It's you almost gets like a little bit of a bad rap. I feel like sometimes like if you talk about being cocky, or like I feel like we're entering a time now, and this is getting a little too political.
It's cancel shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get fucking canceled right now. We're getting in a time now where like you can't be cocky. You can't have
bravado.
You can't be confident, or else you're being like.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Exactly.
Though.
Like, you can be confident and not be an asshole. Like, you can, if you're directly competing with someone and you should talk, like, that's part of it. It's called competition for a reason. Like, you're competing with someone or other people, like, but you doesn't necessarily mean you have to be a bad person, like, outside of whatever you're doing. But I don't know, like. If you hype yourself up or you're confident in some sort of way, like people will shit on you for it. Like you kind of, and I don't know. Yeah, if there's a false sense of confidence, if you're just like, the third place winner, but you're talking all this shit to the fifth place winner, right?
Right.
Meanwhile, you're getting beat by two other guys. Like, there's some times where it's like unnecessary, but like as long as you're not being a bad person to like, and you're not taking to extremes, like. You need it. At least if you're doing something competitive, you have to think that way. Yeah. Because if you don't, you're gonna lose. Totally. Like I have to, like before, if I'm doing a competition and I don't like, I am freaking out. I'm shaking because I'm so nervous and I feel like I'm gonna embarrass myself every time I compete. Even I'm in the gym, but like I have to snap myself out of it and literally think like I'm the toughest motherfucker to ever like. Do anything. Yeah. You have to, at least for a moment. In that moment, you have to at least tell yourself to do that. Or, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or else you're going to lose. Because if you don't, like if there's any fear or whatever, like you can lose. It's really weird how like you can't be confident. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people will get shit on if they're open with how confident they are. But I don't know. The people that do it really well are confident and cocky and really believe themselves, but are also good people at the same time. You can do both. You don't have to be a cocky, like you have to be a douchebag about it. Yeah. It is interesting because there's also cases of the opposite where people are goats in their sport. They're the best, but they're kind of more quietly confident. Yeah. I think like Tiger Woods is maybe a good example of that. He does talk a little bit of shit. He does say he's going to, win things and he's going to get to, whatever it is, the number of major events. And, but he doesn't talk shit in the same way that Michael Jordan did with the Bulls or the same way that Muhammad Ali did. And I think same with Federer. Federer does a little bit, but they're both kind of quietly confident. It's just interesting because I think for their personalities, it's just different. It's like for them, they don't need that. But then for other people like MJ, the Macho, the Muhammad Ali, they need that. It's kind of interesting that different things kind of work for different people. But I think it's like you have to make the best of whatever mix of
personality, skill, abilities that you have, and then just lean into that and be unapologetic for it.
Yeah, totally. I definitely think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know any of these. These are all and I also like reminding people this too. Like, you may be fans of athletes, but you don't really know these people.
Totally.
Like, at the end of the day, Tom Brady could be a total fucking asshole, like a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
And we have no idea because I don't know him at all. I don't think he is, but you have no idea. But it's just like, I'm just describing people in general. Like, at least I can only speak maybe more about Muhammad Ali because I followed his life story a little bit more. But I remember there being a story about like him leading up to one of his fights he was fighting Joe Frazier. He, during one of the it might have been a press conference or something. Anyway, or not even a press conference. He was just quoted as calling Joe Frazier like ugly or whatever. And I guess he heard about like that. I guess that news got out or that quote got out and it made one of Joe Frazier's kids cry or something. Yeah. And then that in turn, like once there's a story about Muhammad Ali hearing about that, then it broke down him. Like he felt so bad about doing that, about calling him ugly and like stuff like that's a good example. I feel like you kind of, I don't know, you can be a confident, like you can believe in yourself and, compete with other people, but you don't have to be necessarily a bad person. I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you don't do that, if you don't believe in yourself I feel like to that level, like you're only increasing your chances to lose. At least in that moment. Like, you need to prepare and do everything right. But I mean, if you are standing toe to toe competing against someone in whatever, and they genuinely are better than you, it's not going to hurt you to think that not to assume you're going to win to where you're not like prepared. Where you're going to, set yourself up for failure and just like have this false sense of like, oh, I'm going to win. Everything's fine. Like they've got no chance. But just to at least believe that you belong there, that you can compete with them or whatever. Like you just having that confidence is super important. I feel like I don't even know how we got on that, but
yeah, no, it's funny. So I don't know how this connects, but it just reminds me of Kanye. We both like Kanye and listening to some of his, of course we love his music and it's inspirational. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really understand why necessarily. But there's this clip of him being interviewed. I think the guy's name is Zayn. He's an English guy. And I think he does stuff for Beats or Apple Music. And he was interviewing him. And Kanye was just going, like, not answering questions, but just kind of going on a rant, saying what he thought. And he was talking about, like, oh, my music is special because if you're a Kanye West fan, you're not a fan of me. You're a fan of yourself.
You're a fan of yourself.
Yeah. And then he goes on and is like, I'm the shot of espresso in the morning that just gets you going. And I just
the one where he's going
off.
Where he's like
the poor interviewer is just sitting there.
Is this the same interview where he's like, where he says like, he has a song saying, "I am a god. Who does he think he is?"
Oh yeah, I told you.
I just told you what I thought that was.
Yeah,
a god.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I love that.
Same guy.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely more controversial. Like that's a case of like, I mean, I don't know him exactly, but yeah, you could definitely argue the case that he may not be the best person or whatever, like the best role model, but I mean, you can't deny that confidence like that creates some great shit, at least art or whatever you want to call it. Like to some extent, it creates amazing things.
Yeah.
When you believe in yourself to that extent.
Yes.
It's insane. Like not speaking to his character or anything, because I don't know the man or whatever, but you can't deny, like, and some people like, you gotta separate the art from the artist. I get that, unless it's like they've really done some horrifying shit.
Yep.
But that's totally right. That's a great example.
Yeah. I can compartmentalize with Kanye. I know he said not great things, but I mean, of course he's living his life in the public eye. But when I listen to his music, I feel that's one of the moments when I feel the most myself. Totally. When I feel the most confident, like maybe when I'm working out or when I'm working on something creative or I'm driving in my car, like those are the most kind of moments that I think stand out. Is just like listening to whatever song, Can't Tell Me Nothing, Father Stretch, whatever, right? Like any of those, they're just the best. They're just bangers, right? And it's like he's echoing that message of like, I'm the best. I can kind of do what I want. And it's self-belief, right? And I think in the cancel culture of stay in your place. Don't say that you're better than someone else. Don't, like, no competition. We're all the same, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a different message. And it's not negative. It's not negative at all. I think
it totally can be. Like, if you're not saying I'm the best or I'm better than you or whatever, like if you're just purely just being like, you suck, suck, not lifting yourself up, just only tearing someone else down. Yeah, that's not cool.
That's not good. But I think his message is not about that. It's more inward focus. It's just him affirming that he can do things, right?
Yeah.
And like his background is
to a crazy
level, right?
Yeah.
But like his background is like he would basically just was a producer and is getting laughed out of rooms and no one's taking him seriously.
Yeah.
And he's making beats for people and people won't let him make an album. And then he gets into a crazy accident. His jaw's wired shut. And then he makes Through the Wire, fucking banger, right? And then just kind of catapults from there. And people are just laughing at him because he's using these weird chipmunk samples and shit.
Yeah.
But then he goes on and makes Dark Fantasy and just like for me, best album ever. And like, you know, it's just he was so like, I think we can just all take a note out of his playbook in that regard, you know? And just
like you definitely need to have that in you. And I think maybe we like that stuff, or at least I can only speak for myself. Maybe I like that stuff. Maybe I like that type of personality, whatever, because maybe because I want that self-belief. Maybe because I didn't have that self-belief in the beginning, right? Whether it was for me with CrossFit or with anything else. Maybe I just didn't have that, and I admired someone who had that, and I was like, wait, you can have that too. You can start thinking of yourself like that. Like, it's okay. Like, please, if you don't think of yourself like that, at least some point during your day or sometime, whatever you're doing, like, it doesn't fucking matter what you're doing. Please think of yourself like that. Like, you are the fucking best.
Yeah.
You need to. Because when you're able to do it and like something good comes from it, it's the best feeling in the fucking world. Like, there are some times where I have that moment and like maybe I fail at something, maybe I'm at a competition or something, and I have that, I tell myself and hype myself up and I fall short and it's okay. You know what I mean? You live and you learn, but you move on. But if you tell yourself and it ends up working, and like, you know, if I'm at a competition, I may beat someone by a couple of reps or whatever, it's the best. You're like fucking right. Like, it's the best feeling in the world. So I hope even if you're a photographer, you're just like, you love taking photos, like, please, I want you to edit your photos and put that shit up with the mentality like, this is the best fucking photo you've ever seen in your life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, not necessarily shitting on other people, being a bad person, but for you and your own self-belief, like, please, you have to have that. Like, I will not lie. Like, there's some people, if we're relating it back to CrossFit terms, like, there's some people that I see putting their shit out on Instagram. Like, look at this lift, look at this video, look at my time or my score, this workout or whatever. Like, yeah, that's cool stuff and it helps you hype you up. But like, that's not as important as like, that can be more of a facade, like as if you really believe in yourself. Like, make sure you really tell yourself like you really believe that when you're doing that shit, because it helps a ton. I don't know. I'm not afraid to tell people like, you have to think of yourself that way, or I mean, it's only going to help. But
yeah, I agree. Kanye takes us to non-CrossFit topic of music. I know you have a history of music. You of course listening to it and playing it as well. But yeah, open, very general question. But like, what role does music play in your life? And yeah, how do you think about music?
Music, I feel. What role? That's a good question. I like that, Jimmy. What role? I would say it's a good emotional support system. I feel like it can channel, like, you can, whatever mood you're in, whether you're hyping yourself up or if you're really upset or whatever, or if you need to focus or whatever. I don't know. I've kind of always relied on it for that. It's always been like, I don't know, sort of like a little bit of like therapy / like, I don't know. It's always something that's been constant, I don't know, in my life.
But you play music too, right?
But I play music. Yeah. Sorry. Like, I started playing music. My brother got really into it. I have an older brother, and he started playing guitar. My sister, I have an older sister who also started playing piano, so I naturally picked those things up too and played a little bit. I played more guitar than piano and sang a little bit and stuff like that. I just taught myself how to play certain songs, and that was just more of like a hobby and outlet that I haven't taken it seriously to the point where I never thought of it as like a task that I could use to go somewhere with, as in like a career, or you know what I mean? It was always just a hobby. And so, but it's been a big release. I mean, it's been something that I can take interest in. It's not related to what I do. It's not related to working out, but I really I nerd out on. Same thing with like other stuff that I have. But music, I've always really liked. It was always been, my dad's a huge music nerd. I grew up with a lot of like old Southern rock stuff, and just it was just always on in my house. Like whether someone was cleaning or whatever, we have speakers. My dad put in like these surround sound speakers where like you could have your phone hooked up in the living room and it would play out through the kitchen, through the backyard, awesome, through the living room. And so like just little things like that. It was just, music was always on around me. And so I don't know, I just naturally got really into it. And so it's always been a big part of me, and I've always really liked it for sure.
Yeah. I think we bonded over because we have pretty similar tastes in music, and that we like hip hop. We like, of course, Kanye. You went to, I remember when we first met, you were telling me that you went to Sunday service. Yeah. What was that like?
Dude, that was nuts. I really liked that concert a lot because it was like Sunday at like 11 a.m. at the Forum in LA. Like no one was, I'm sure there was some people that were already probably like fucking drinking or getting high or whatever. But from what I could tell, no one was like fucked up. No one was being assholes. People were dressed up nice, like they were actually going to church. So that part was really cool. But it was just a different experience. It was like him and like 100-man choir or man and woman choir. But yeah, that was really cool. Yeah, I really like that a lot. That was I think that was probably top 3 favorite concerts I've been to. I need to go to more concerts though.
Are you religious, or do you just like that kind of music?
I was growing up in a Christian, I would say Christian background, Christian household. I am not so connected to my faith as of like the last 5 or so years. That is something that, I mean, me and my girlfriend still talk about every now and then, but like I just haven't really reconnected with my faith and stuff like that. It's not, I don't know. But I wouldn't tie myself into a certain religion or not. I'm kind of undecided.
I see.
I'm a free agent right now, Jimmy.
Free agent.
I'm a free agent.
Yeah.
If any God wants to draft me, we can talk.
We've never talked about this. I'm Christian.
Okay.
But I also feel a little disconnected from my faith. When I grew up, I was really in that, like my grandpa was a Baptist pastor, and
oh wow.
Yeah, so my family's all in it. I was baptized when I was young and everything, and grew up going to different churches, and I think Orange County is such a hyper conservative bubble.
Yeah.
And I would say that definitely shaped a lot of who I am, but then I went up to the Bay Area and it's the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I think both are kind of like absolutely out of their minds. And so I kind of don't want to associate with either of them really.
Yeah.
They're very kind of centrist or moderate.
Yeah.
And I just think they're two different, think chambers or whatever, like echo chambers of their own ideas. And it just kind of gets crazier and crazier. So it's like, I think my going to the Bay or just moving more north in California, at least, like made me not go away from my faith, but just to think about, okay, what do I actually think about it outside of the noise? And when I was in the Bay, I found a church that I think was like, when I was going to Orange County, it was kind of weird. I think a lot of the churches I went to is like, it was always perfectionist, or like you couldn't really talk about sin. You couldn't talk about all this shit that was actually going on in your head. God forbid you swear. And so it's just not real. It's not a real, and then you hear all of this stuff about how people are actually acting behind the scenes, and it just doesn't match up. It's phony. And I hated that. But in the Bay, I found a really cool church that was much more open and talked about, and didn't condone things, but just was more open and human and talked about it, and people could be honest. And I think that helped it make my faith more accessible to me. And so I've kind of, since then, I haven't really found anything down here, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, I think that's why I liked that album. What was the album called again? I forget. Kanye's album, The Gospel.
Oh, the last one Jesus is King?
Jesus King, yeah. Like, it was cool because it's hip-hop, which I love Kanye, but it's also Christian music, which is hard to relate to because it's, very at different ends of the spectrum. But yeah, the album has some bangers. But, yeah.
That's like, without getting just too deep into this, because now we're
really going to get canceled.
Jeez Louise. Now we're getting deep into it. I just signed up for a podcast. I didn't sign up to talk about this shit.
Yeah.
No, but without getting too deep, I think that's a very real thing. I bet more people would probably agree with is like, there's probably certain things about either one religion or one or just faith in general that draws people towards it. Like I believe in certain things, but I haven't jumped all the way in because of either X, Y, and Z, because of like these certain beliefs. Like I believe in the majority of their stuff, like be a good person, yada yada yada, like treat others how you want to be treated, whatever. But then there's just like other kind of weird core principles that you're like, I actually don't agree with that. That's not cool. Christianity, being specific without getting too deep into it, like I feel like I definitely feel that same way. Like if there's still some few things that that keep me from it. But there's also, you have to realize like there's so many different interpretations of this stuff that this is the Bible. Even to this day, it's been interpreted in so many different ways that it's unfortunate that people do that take that stuff to and then manipulate it to their benefit. But yeah, it's so I'm sure there is either a type of religion or set belief that you could probably align yourself with. But yeah, I definitely don't think you're alone, and I'm the same way. I don't think you're alone in that. There are some things that draw me towards it, but there's also some things that seriously push me away from it.
Absolutely.
Belief wise.
Yeah.
So I think we're both free agents too.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think it's interesting. So I've had conversations with a lot of my friends in the Bay, and the Bay is very counter Christian or religion. It's and almost to the point of being hostile.
Yeah.
So you don't really talk about it, or it's in the workplace, it's not something you kind of bring up. It doesn't win you any fans. But yeah, one of my friends I worked with up in the Bay, we were just having this conversation. I really like the guy, but he's like the hardest core atheist. And so when I was telling him I was a Christian, and he's like man in cloud level Christian, and I'm like, I was thinking about it.
Wow.
I was thinking about it, and
man in cloud level Christian.
But then I was like, yeah, that's funny. But I was actually like, yeah, I mean that is what I believe. Not like that image, but it's like when you think about it, it's fucking crazy, right? It's like when we die, we go to heaven or we go to hell, and there's a dude with a pitchfork or there's a dude with a halo, and you get to go to one. That's fucking crazy. That's wild. That is objectively a fucking crazy idea.
That's wild.
But I think I acknowledge that, and there's a lot of things in the Bible that are kind of okay, this is hard to grapple with, knowing what we know about the world. But I don't know, and I think that it is an interactional part of me. But when I take a step back and think about it, it's hard for me to believe this is we took a left turn.
We did.
When we die, that it all just ends. I have a hard time believing that.
Really?
Yeah. I can't put my head down on the pillow and think, dude, when I'm just 90 and I'm KO'd and I'm dead, it just goes to black. I can't believe that.
Hey, you remember what it was like before you were born?
Yeah, I can't.
Just like that.
Exactly.
That's fucking terrifying. That's horrifying.
And I know that's illogical of me, because I would say probability wise, that's the highest thing, but I can't. It's I don't know.
It's super.
This is a hard left turn.
No, you're just you're just two dudes talking about what happens when you die.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally normal. But
we do it at CrossFit all the time. Mid rep. Yeah. What happens when you die? But yeah, I don't know.
That's
heavy topic.
It's a trip.
Yeah.
There's some religions that believe that. There's some people that are like, when you die, you're dead. You're done.
Yeah.
But that's a good way to put it. Man in the cloud. I don't know if I necessarily believe in the man in the cloud, but I also believe that there's consequences to the way you live your life. I don't think you get off. It matters. I don't think you get off scot free. You know what I mean? I don't think you can just be a piece of shit.
I agree.
And then,
I would hope so. There's some form
lie
of
in the
justice.
dirt with, right next to the other guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to believe in that. Maybe that's just some weird thing that I use for motivation to not be a piece of shit.
Or else, what does it matter? Why can't we just go around killing and shooting people?
Oh.
Or stealing? I don't know. I don't know. If I maybe not that far, but it's hard for me to grapple with fade to black. Then what's the point of us here? I guess I don't know. Heavy shit. But this is why. hard left turn, but the whole point of this podcast is, I think, a good excuse for me to get to know people. And I feel like that's an important topic, is like what, and it changes over our lives, but like, what do you think?
I'm telling you, you need to come up with a set of like finishing questions.
Yeah.
That when like at the end, you'd be like, okay, like just talk to him about like, have someone that like loves cooking.
Yeah.
Just talk to him about cooking for like an hour, and then just like, all right,
what happens?
We're just gonna wrap it with a couple questions. Number one, what happens when you die? Huh?
I love it. I love it.
Just do it.
Just smack him in the face. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We went from CrossFit to Kanye to music
from CrossFit
to Man and Cloud.
Yeah, from CrossFit to ego. From CrossFit to sports to ego to music to what happens when you did.
It's deep shit.
Yeah. What are you? Okay, let's circle back. I'll give you the option to cut that whole religion part out.
If you want me to, I can.
No. I'm not telling. I'm just saying. Let's circle back. So the way we were talking about having that confidence in yourself of like what you want to do, or whatever. What is something like I've kind of related it to CrossFit because that's what I do. You know, that's my main focus right now. Mm-hmm. Is there something that you like you can channel that confidence or that channel that like that drive or whatever? What is it? What area are you trying to channel that drive or that confidence into? Is it podcasting? Is it music? Is it work?
Music, but I'm not good at it. Like when I listen to my music, I'm not good at it. And I know from the way that other people react to it, it's kind of fun, memey, kind of jokey music. But I think when I'm into it and I'm doing it, some of the songs I've made I'm proud of because I think I started from nothing. And some of the lines that I've come up with, I'm just really proud of and enjoyed writing and got into the flow. But it's a very intimidating. That was the thing for me that gave me the confidence that I think CrossFit gave to you, that I could shifting the mindset. It shifted my mindset from I'm just a piece of shit consumer and I'm actually a creator and I can make stuff.
Yeah.
And I can set goals and stick to them. So I talked about this on the last episode of the Isai, but when I started, I said, okay, I'm going to make one song every 2 weeks for 10 until I make 10 songs, so 20 weeks.
Yeah.
And I did it, and not all the songs are great. Arguably, none of them were. But it was so good for me to commit to a goal and to make progress on it and to see my evolution over the time. And so, and it's just fun. I think like we have all these random thoughts in our head, but when you're writing rap lyrics, music lyrics, like it can all come out and just be like all. It's kind of like you're leaving like the essence of who you are and you're communicating it to other people.
Yeah.
Like so. I think just like some of the lyrics that I've written are funny. Like they're referencing whatever 90s comics like SpongeBob, cartoons, Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Just random shit that is true. Orange County, whatever.
Yeah.
Just all the weird random shit that's going on in my head. The amalgamation of experiences that make me. I can put that into my music and I enjoy listening to my music. And so that for me was the bar. And so that's one thing. But I think low probability that music will be a career thing for me. Mm-hmm. But I think if it's something that I stick with over time, I could get to a level where I would make things that a reasonable amount of other people would find interesting, motivating. And I think music is cool because it's unlike any other medium in that there's just like this level of replayability and constants in your life.
Yeah.
That TV shows don't have, movies don't have, podcasts don't have. Like you listen to those things once, twice, 3 times if you love them. But music you listen to, you like a song.
Times, yeah. I'm definitely. Are you one of those people that like? Do you have no problem like putting one song on repeat for like an hour?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I did that with Lord I Need You on Kanye on Donda. That was my song that I had on repeat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I've pissed tons of people off because I can just put the same. If I'm into a fucking song, I am into it, dude.
And then do you get sick of it? You get sick of it for a little bit?
I don't get sick of it, but like I'll definitely just change it. Like I'll do something else. But like, there's been a few songs that like oh my god, when Drake dropped that "Laugh Now, Cry Later" single before his album came out. But those horns, dude. Oh my god, I pissed everyone off because it was just constant. I had it constantly on repeat. I don't know why. I found it so fucking catchy.
It was catchy. Yeah. Industry Baby was one of those for me too. I don't know if you heard that one.
Yeah.
Jack Harlow and
you just find one of those songs that like it's like a parasite.
Just rips. Yeah.
And it's like just stuck in your head.
In your brain at all times.
That's good.
How you doing on time?
I'm good.
You okay? Okay. Feeling good. Another topic I want to talk about, Postman on Cloud. You brought that back real good. Man, you're a better host than I am. Coffee.
Yeah.
You're drinking coffee right now?
Yeah.
You love coffee? I love coffee. Oh my God. Oh, I thought that was full.
You thought it was you just fucking exploded all over your
white
laptop.
Table. But
yeah, I love that shit.
Why you like it so much?
Because it makes me feel good.
It makes you shit. Do you drink coffee to shit?
No.
No? You shit before you drink coffee in the morning?
Well, no, the coffee's like the first thing I do, but it doesn't. I don't get like the reaction. I don't like take a sip like, oh, time to shit.
Oh, I immediately shit when I drink coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
It's my laxative or whatever.
I don't normally get that, but no, I love coffee.
Yeah.
Which is, it's hilarious. Every time I think about why I love, like I get asked this question, like, why are you so into coffee or whatever? And it's like, I don't know why I got so into coffee because like I really shouldn't. I'm already hyper enough, but like I just got really into it just because I think it's what it's turned into. It's my vice that like, I don't know. Do you feel like addiction, like whether it's substance addiction or any form of addiction, like is hereditary?
Like generic addictions or like a specific addiction is
like
passed down?
If not a specific, it could be that, or it could just be like
the aptitude to be addicted.
Addictive personalities. You know what I mean?
I think that could be genetic.
Like my family, they're all heavy drinkers.
Really?
Heavy alcohol drinkers. Yeah, they are.
I think that's definitely genetic. Yeah.
I think I somehow got that addiction
to coffee
and channeled it into coffee, and I drink coffee I probably drink way too much.
You drink a couple cups a day.
I'm at like
average.
I'm usually for the amount of caffeine, I'm usually at like 3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I have for sure 2 cups, exactly 2 cups in the morning, and then I'm like either a shot or another cup in the afternoon. So I would say 3. It's not like an enormous amount, but like that's every day.
Yeah.
And it's also become like a hobby of mine where it's like with CrossFit and training so much and just like having something outside of the gym is like having a hobby outside of the gym that I can nerd out on that I really like is super cool to me. And it's not something that's going to harm me. It only makes me better. For all those fucking coffee people that want to, or for the people that want to shit on coffee saying it's bad for you, it's not fucking bad for you. Caffeine itself alone is okay. I mean, obviously there is such thing as too much and you get to ridiculous amounts, but like 2 to 3 cups a day of just straight caffeine, like black coffee or whatever, it's all good.
Yeah.
But if you're putting a bunch of sugar and all this other shit in it, then that's different. But yeah, I don't know why. I feel like I've done that. My family's all heavy drinkers, and so I'm trying to channel it into drinking coffee instead of vodka sodas.
Yeah, it's funny. So Iron and Kin is the coffee shop that's in downtown Claremont, one that kind of everyone hangs out at, and you go there almost every other day, right? I remember I bought you a cup. And I was like, okay, just pay for whatever. Like, I want to pay for whatever Cameron gets. And they knew. They're like, he gets this tonic every single day. Like, that's what he gets.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Is that, so you're a creature of habit with coffee. Like, do you, you know what you like and you stick to it?
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely have gotten more into it over the time. But it's also like, it's not just like, hey, you go to CrossFit. Like, it's a social thing for me.
Totally.
So that's my favorite part of my day. Like don't get me wrong, I love my work, I love training, I love CrossFit, I love all that stuff. But if I'm being quite honest, my favorite part of the day is like middle of the day where I have that little bit of break in time where I can just call it my lunch break. On my lunch break, I eat my food and then I grab my dog and me and my dog go down to the coffee shop. I get a cup of coffee and then I go back home and go back to either the gym or whatever. It's like my favorite part of my day. I love it so much. This is why like I also haven't got like an espresso machine at home. I haven't like made that big jump to where I go that because then I'm not gonna have the necessity to go out and get coffee, and I love that part of it. Not just like I like coffee culture. I like the part like going out and doing it and going out and trying new places. Like every weekend I'm going out to try new places out in LA or whatever.
Yeah,
like that part's just really cool.
Yeah,
and it has not, and it's super low stress for me. Like it's just a fun activity. It's like the exact opposite I feel like of CrossFit, where I'm just like, just relax, try coffee, just the most mellow thing from like I can do outside of, kicking the shit out of myself every day.
Yeah. So. It is that contrast is so good. You know, like
Yeah.
the like ultimate comfort of chilling in a coffee shop with your dog, drinking a warm cup of coffee or whatever it is, and then beating the shit out of yourself like that. It's like ice bath, hot bath,
It's
but
like a
like
really
kind of
high and a really low.
yeah.
Like,
That's so
yeah.
that's so good for you. I think most people get only the coffee bit and not the like kicking the shit out of yourself bit.
Yeah,
but,
and it makes that
yeah.
stuff, and it definitely makes that stuff a lot more enjoyable. And I talk to my clients about this, like my personal training clients, when it comes to like alcohol or treats or anything like that. I'm like, dude, when you work really hard and you take care of your shit, 360 or 350 days a year, the other 14 days of the year when you're celebrating holidays or birthdays or whatever, you feel so good because you're just like, I've taken care. I've been working hard, like on Christmas or Thanksgiving, dude. I don't give a fuck. I am eating so much shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. I am just an animal, and like whatever I want to indulge in, I indulge fucking hard. Like it's great. So yeah, there's definitely a like I feel like it makes rewarding yourself a lot better when you work really hard. Like if you just keep rewarding yourself and not working hard and not working, so it's no longer a reward. It's just this thing that you do over and over again. Well, you just fuck it up for yourself. Like then you just like, and you're ruining it. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's what comedian is it? Who's the actor that he plays Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec. What's his name? Nick Offerman.
Yes. Yeah.
Nick Offerman. He has a stand-up special. I don't know if it's still
He's
on Netflix.
hilarious.
It might still be there. Dude, his whole stand-up special is like life lessons. You should seriously watch it. That's one of the things he talks about. He talks about like substances like drugs and alcohol, and he's like, no, these things are great. The problem is you fucking people do it all the time, and you don't ever work hard and then enjoy the reward. And
That's funny. That's actually true. Yeah.
It's like these things are meant to be rewards for working your ass off. But you don't work your ass off. You just abuse it over and over, and it ruins it.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's
funny.
such a great way to think of it. It's like he found a way to make drugs and alcohol like positive. And like if you have that much self control to do that, like I guess it is positive.
Yeah.
But
Could be.
I'm just talking about coffee right now. But yeah, I don't know. It's just sort of a hobby that I have outside of the gym, and I really like to do. And it's not necessarily bad for me. It doesn't fuck up my goals or anything. Like. You know what I mean? I don't have to really watch as long as I'm taking care of everything else. As long as I'm not having so much coffee where I'm not drinking enough water, or I'm not getting enough sleep or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I'm doing all that stuff anyway. So yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, you have an interest level of coffee that's greater than mine. I think when I lived in the Bay, I got more into coffee, third wave or whatever you call it, right? Like the blue bottles, which you hate. Phil's, Ritual, Sight Glass, just all these cool shops in San Francisco that were just, elevated above the Starbucks stuff I grew up drinking. And so but it is cool. It's a craft, like in the same way that wine is, like there's all these elements that go into it and where you get your ingredients, how you roast the beans, so on and so forth. It's just interesting. It's cool to see people go super deep into that world. And like we were talking about being focused on something, like seeing people who that's their life. I think it's a cool thing.
Yeah, I also like the people too. It
Yeah.
attracts like at least I think decent people.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, last question for you. We talked about like now that you're older and the lessons that you've learned since you were 20, you started CrossFit, or when you were younger.
Yeah.
What do you think 30-year-old version of Cam would tell 25-year-old version of Cam? If you could take a step back, what advice would you give yourself now?
But my thinking of my like an older self, like I'm imagining now I'm 30. What would I tell myself now?
Out of body experience.
Like imagine or just basically guess where I'm gonna be in 5 years. Oh fuck. I don't know. I hope shit works out for me. I don't know.
I'm trying out this question. I'm not sure if it's a good one, but
I would say, as long as I don't know. I would say keep having, like, I feel like that it goes back to the confidence thing you mentioned earlier, like having to have that confidence. Because even though I talk about it, like I love, learning about athletes who are super confident themselves, like I still have a hard time with it all the time. And so or just staying the course or not quitting and just, I don't know, trying to just, I don't know, keep going. That's what I keep telling myself. Just keep going. That's like the whole contract with myself. And whether I'm still doing CrossFit or I moved on to something completely different for whatever reason, whether I just finally, decided I was done with CrossFit or whatever, like, I don't know. I don't know.
It's a hard question.
It is like trying to just tell, because you don't know where you're like, I know what I would tell myself 5 years ago from now.
What would you tell yourself?
Like for 5 years, like now
I would
say like, not to be more serious, but like, I don't know, like I would tell myself like right now, like don't wait. Right now is when you need to start doing things. Like don't wait to take action or think like, oh, maybe I'll start doing this or that. Like just take it one day at a time. Start doing stuff. Start, I don't know, like what's that Leonardo da Vinci quote? That'll be the best way to sum it up. I think it's a Leonardo da Vinci quote. It says, I think it is, it's often come to my attention that great people very rarely sat around and waited for things to happen to them. They went out and happened to things. So that's what I would tell myself, is like, go out and happen to things. Go out and do X, Y, and Z. If you wanted to, whether it's CrossFit, whether it's, I don't know, if I still wanted to do comedy again someday, go out and do it. Don't just think about it over and over and over again, because I feel like as you get older, time goes by faster. It's like the most cliche thing to say.
It's true.
But it's very real. And so I would say go out and happen to things. Like don't just think about stuff or don't think about doing it and then sit there and think about all the ways of why it wouldn't work out for you. Just go out and just fucking do it. Whether that's, CrossFit or anything else.
Yeah. I think it's a good piece of advice. Go, like, don't let the world just happen to you, but go.
Yeah, don't wonder like, oh, I hope this thing happens for me. Just go out and try to take a step, whether it's getting a job or whatever. Go out and try to do some form of physical action to do that, I guess. If that's fucking cheesy enough for you.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It's great. I think I would give myself similar advice. Pick something and get good at it and do it now. And you can do more things later.
And do it. Like just
do it consistently.
Like even with your music, I would just fucking put it out. Whether it sounds like shit or whether you like it or whatever, just do it. I was actually having a conversation with a buddy the other day who's really into bodybuilding, and he's not sure why he's training. Even though I do CrossFit, he does bodybuilding. The way he was kind of talking about it was the same place I found myself with CrossFit about 2 or 3 years ago, where I was putting all this pressure on myself and taking it super seriously, but I didn't necessarily know why, or I didn't have an end goal or exactly. I just knew I wanted to do it and be good at it, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I was telling him, like, just start taking a plan, start making a plan, start taking action on it, whether that's like, hey, go get yourself a coach, go start doing this, go sign up for a bodybuilding show, like do it today, don't wait for it tomorrow. And then like, that's how you go out and happen to things. I would say. Yeah. Is
that a hard question? That I think maybe it's easier to think about what you would tell yourself.
Yeah. I feel like
5 years ago, but like trying to pull yourself back or into the future and think about your current deficiencies. That's hard to do.
That is hard. Well, I'm assuming like if you're saying like what would 30-year-old Cameron say to me now? I'll tell you what I would say to myself if everything works. Let's say my life goes according to plan. Mm-hmm. Let's say I qualify for the CrossFit Games and I'm somehow a professional CrossFit athlete at this point, and everything, and I've accomplished all my goals and things are going great for me, and I'm just able to do that full time or whatever. Then I would tell myself now, just stick with it. Like shit's gonna get really tough, and you just have to, be willing to be dragged through the mud a little bit longer, and then eventually it will work out for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also brings up a good point. This is something that even if you like that kind of stuff, if that's like that whole idea of like sticking with something, not quitting, that's something that like gets you thinking a little bit. There's a video of Steve Harvey, of all people.
Really?
Steve Harvey, host of fucking Family Feud. It's like after a taping of Family Feud, he's sitting around talking to the audience members, I guess. And he goes off on this rant about like whatever you want to do. If you don't want to work your 9 to 5, you don't want to have this like lame ass fucking job and you want to do something great. He like goes off on this rant about how to do it. And he describes it as like a gift. He was like, everyone has a gift, like whether it's cutting hair, whether it's mowing lawns, whether it's doing all this shit. He's like, whatever you have, like, you have to think of life as like you on the edge of a cliff and you have to just fucking jump, right? And that gift that you have, if you just jump off that cliff and go for it, that gift is the parachute on your back. And eventually it's going to open up. You just have to trust it. But you have to jump. You have to quit that 95 job, whatever it is, and you just have to fucking jump. But he's like, you know, I'm going to warn you, you're going to get cut up. You're going to hit the rocks. You're going to be fucking begging for mercy. But eventually that gift has to open and has to work. And it's like, I don't know why. Like, maybe that's just some false sense of belief that like, you know,
it's going to work out.
You can with that idea, you can trick yourself into doing anything.
Yeah.
You could be like, hey, you know what? I am 35 years old and morbidly obese, but I'm going to be an NFL kicker.
Right.
But I'm just going to do it. Hey, he may or may not make the NFL, but he might lose some weight and become really good at kicking a football. If he like has that mentality, like, so that's something that I heard of that, and that was really cool. And so, and because it's not just about like, oh, if you just do it, it'll work. I like the idea of the point where he described like you're gonna get cut up, like it's gonna suck. Like there's some parts that's gonna be really shitty. Like I wrestle with some of the stuff all the time. Like I don't make any money doing CrossFit. Like I'm 25 and I'm you know still living at home, and it's sometimes like that stuff definitely still eats away at me. I still work and I make a decent amount of money. I take care of myself, but like not being completely independent is something that bothers me for sure. But it's because I'm making these sacrifices to make sure I train full time and do all this stuff. And so whenever I'm having a hard time or I'm wrestling with like, you know, do I want to keep doing this or should I just like focus more on my career and making more money as a trainer or whatever, or leaving training entirely and getting just a fucking regular ass 9 to 5 job so I can move out or do whatever. Whenever I have those thoughts, like I always think to myself, like, no, this is supposed to happen. Your shit is supposed to get really tough. It's part of it as long as you stick with it. So that's the part that I find comforting, is being like, oh no, it's going to be really shitty. And then this is the point you have to like, this is part of it. This is like the contract. This is part of that contract was you had to accept it. Like you're going to like, this part's going to, I guess, suck a little bit. Yeah. Some people are fine with living at home or whatever, and that's cool. But like I definitely have a little, like I want to definitely do more. And so when you, yeah. So that's part of the thing that I struggle with. But watch that fucking video. It's crazy.
I will.
It's of all people, fucking Steve Harvey talking about this shit is super. That's
funny.
Hilarious.
I know he's got some like deep advice.
But it's Steve Harvey, man. He's fucking crazy successful.
Yeah. I think I asked Isai this question, and I realized I didn't have a good answer for it, but I was thinking about it, and I think, you know, like my current deficiencies, or what I would tell myself from the future, is some combination of like chill out and be nice to people. I think in my earlier 20s, like I learned a lot of things, or came into a lot of better ideas, and then, or good ideas, and maybe took them to really hard extremes, and to the point where I almost look down on other people if they don't share those views. Like, so one instance is like, I come from a pretty kind of turbulent history of our family's finances, like a lot of ups and downs.
Okay.
And so I learned a lot about that. And so now when I talk to my parents about it, I'm kind of really harsh on them about what I think they should do with their money and why did you buy this car and why didn't you do this, and rehashing history and all that. And I kind of come at it from this like moral upper ground or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just an asshole move and doesn't help anyone, you know, and it kind of like distances myself. And I think I do that. And another thing is like, I feel like it's people who are like rudderless and don't find something that they're really passionate about in life. And just, you know, kind of hang out and just do whatever and kind of let whatever the social calendar is dictate their life and like kind of let the world happen to them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's an awful idea. So, but I take it to an extreme of where like I'll close off big parts of my time or like weekends. And when I'm with someone who I love, I'll kind of be short with them or make them feel like I don't want to be spending that time because I could be doing something else or I could be being productive. Like, I don't know how to walk that line of, because I think it is good to be extreme and to try and do things that better yourself. But it's also good not to like enforce that upon other people and to like maybe still help them learn from the good ideas that you've adopted. But don't use that as a wedge and push people away.
Yeah, sometimes that happens naturally. Sometimes, like, you know, if you are really committed to either a goal or you just have this sort of personality, if you have this like personality, like sometimes it can drive away certain types of friends or people. And yeah, I mean, that's part of it. I feel like you'll eventually find the people that are similar to you, that have that similar, that understand a little bit more. But yeah, it's a tough thing too. Like, I have to sometimes, like, around my family, because I'm so committed to my goals and, you know, they don't share the same ideas or ideology that I have. Like, you know, it doesn't necessarily give me an excuse to like talk shit to them or do whatever. And so like I have to, like I can relate to that, you know, not being harsh or things like that. But also there's like some people that are just content, like you don't also need to like not try to be someone you're not too. Like, you should try to motivate yourself to do the best you can at whatever you're doing or whatever. But there's some people that aren't like that. They just aren't like that. They feel like that's more toxic for them to think that way of like, I need to be obsessive over something, whether it's my career or whatever. For some people, that's really toxic. And they're like, I don't want to live my life like that or whatever. I don't feel like they give me balance. I feel like that's more destructive to me than productive, I guess. So like that part's totally cool too. And I think there's definitely some times where I feel like I wish I had that piece where I'm like, I wish I didn't sometimes want to be so obsessive about certain things or my career or CrossFit or something. I wish I could be like content with just being like, I have my life. This is cool. Like, I mean, it's important to have too, right? You need to be okay with having what you have and not always wanting more, like not being greedy, right? Yeah. Because greed isn't good. You don't want to be super greedy, but sometimes greed can set you up for, sometimes greed gets you a really nice car and a really nice house. Yeah. But that's not everything.
Yeah. But those aren't bad things.
Those aren't necessarily bad things. So I guess you have to find a line, but I don't know. I guess it's what makes you happy, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, I think we've gone for almost an hour and a half. I'll let you go, but
fuck yeah, Jimmy, we could do this shit.
I know. That was fun, right? How'd you like it?
That was cool. I thought that was like 10 or 15 minutes.
Dude, thanks for being on the podcast. You'll have to come back again. And definitely when we're 30, so we can give ourselves actual advice. Oh my
God, dude. That's honestly my biggest fear is like, this is going to be fucking out in places. And I'm to look at myself. I'm like, dude, why are you wearing that fucking beanie? Or it's just some shit. Yeah. You know? No, you already see yourself. Do you think, okay, real quick, do you think about that too? Like how people are making these like TikToks and videos and YouTube videos. It's just not going to age well. It's like people's entire lives are like on video.
It's horrifying.
How terrifying is it going to be like 20 years from now?
It's bad.
You're good. Like it's already happening today.
Yeah.
That's scary as fuck.
Yeah.
Like I hate photos. I won't lie. Yeah. Even right now, like video is somehow better for me.
It's a little bit more organic.
I guess so. Like I hate photos. So Dude, that scares the fuck out of me.
Yeah, watching this back in 10 years and just cringing.
Dude, watching this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Tomorrow. I'm going to be horrified. But you know what? Anything for you, Slim Jim.
Dude, thanks for coming on. It is cringy to hear your own voice and watch yourself on camera. But yeah, I listened to episodes I did 2 years ago. And it is a lot of cringe. But it's also, I don't know.
But it's real. Be you.
Yeah.
Be real.
Yeah.
That's like part of the confidence thing too. Just fucking, whether it's your music, whether your podcast, like this is why like I totally agree to come on 100%. Because I definitely had that thought like, I don't know if I want to come because like people are going to watch it and they're going to like think about stuff.
I only have like three listeners, one of them being my mom.
I don't give a shit. Hey, Jimmy's mom.
What's up, Nancy?
Yeah. So, but just do it, dude. Just fucking do it. That's awesome.
Be real. We'll
All
leave
right.
you on that.
Thank you,
All right.
buddy.